everybody, today we're talking about July's wrap-up. Hi, hello, my name is Sophie, the Bookish Floor, and today I'm gonna talk to you guys about the books that I read in July. Now, I think I already did my Summerween wrap-up, or I already talked to you guys about some of the books that I read for Summerween, so I'm gonna go through them really fast at the end. But first, I'm gonna talk to you guys about the books that I read that were not in Summerween. So the first one that I'm gonna talk to you guys about is actually one that I haven't finished, that I just started, and that is Scarlet from the Lunar Chronicles. Now, this is the second book in that series, and that series is kind of a retelling of different fairy tales, but in a sci-fi setting, in a world where different planets are like interconnected, and I believe the main one, or the main celestial object, is the moon, and that's where a queen resides, and I think she wants to kind of take over. I already read the first one. The first one is Crest, and it's loosely based on Cinderella. Really, they're just taking certain like simple parts of the fairy tale stories and then just creating a new world around it. The first one is based on a girl who lives with her like adoptive mother and her daughter, and she is part like cyborg, and she fixes robots and stuff like that, and she meets the prince, and he kind of falls for her, and they are involved in a kind of discovering this mystery. So really the basis is just who she lives with, like her name and like the prince, and other than that it's a whole new world. And then the second one is Scarlet, and it's based off of Little Red Riding Hood, and right now I have met Scarlet, and she is part of the Citizens of the Moon, I believe, and I just barely started reading it. So yeah, that's about all I can give you. So hopefully I'll finish that one this week, and if you want to know all my thoughts on it, it'll be on my Instagram, where I upload every book review as I am going through them. So that's probably not gonna be on another wrap-up. So if you want to know what I think about that book, you can probably find it there. And now the books that I did finish. So the first one that I'm gonna talk about is The Viscount Who Loved Me. That is the second book on the Bridgerton series. As you guys know, in May I read Romancing Mr. Bridgerton, because season 3 was coming out and I really wanted to know Penelope's story. And then I decided to just go ahead and read The Duke and I, because honestly I thought I was in for like hitting the books, and I really liked Romancing Mr. Bridgerton, which is book number 4 in the series. So I thought, maybe there's something here. And I read the book Duke and I gave it, I think, 3 stars, and I thought it was like whatever, okay. It wasn't necessarily my cup of tea, wasn't really excited, but I like Regency, I like historical fiction. There's a lot of parts about I was gonna say about Regency era language and points of view that I don't like, but I don't think it's necessarily that. I think it's the Regency era through a viewpoint of the early 2000s, so that is very different. There's, I think, a lot of more stereotypical misogyny and sexism and body shaming and things like that, and class divide that is more harsh. If you read something like Jane Austen, you still have those things, but not as blunt, not as harsh, and even things like class different was viewed differently. It wasn't necessarily us versus them. It was more about, if you see, for example, in Emma, how she is reprimanded because she is treating one of the people in town who is less fortunate than her. She's treating her badly, and then one of her goals is also to always help the people who need them, and she goes and visits and brings food and spends time. Like, the dynamics of the Regency era when it comes to class disparities are different, and when we see them through the lens of the early 2000s, it's quite different. I think there's quite a divide between classes, between races, between body sizes, that is not as prevalent in other eras, and they're trying to insert them. There's also something that I saw somewhere that said that the biggest lie in Bridgerton, like the series and the books now, is that they made people believe that Penelope was unwanted, when actually she was, based on her size and who she was and her accomplishment, she would actually be one of the most desired people in town because of that. Let's remember that the standard for body sizes was very different back then. So she would actually be one of the most desired ladies and eligible ladies, and not this maybe wallflower that they make her seem to be. And that is the view of Regency through, again, an early 2000s lens. So I can see a lot of that in the books. So through the book in hand, which is The Viscount Who Loved Me, I definitely saw a lot of that. However, when it comes to the actual story, like the plot points and what story they wanted to tell, I actually liked it better than the series. I'm not a fan of love triangles, especially when it comes to family members. I just think that's very icky and gross. And that is not the case on the book. Let me put spoilers over here if you guys don't want to listen to that part. So in the book, Edwina doesn't really care that Anthony and Kate are together. When Anthony and Kate are in the garden and the bee comes and they have that whole bee incident, they are discovered by Lady Featherington and Lady Bridgerton, and they are made to married. And they both say fine, because that's proper, even though they weren't doing anything improper necessarily, because they were kind of found in a compromising position. They are made to be married, and they're both in love with each other. They just haven't admitted it. So the trope of the book is mostly miscommunication and not love triangle. I really don't like miscommunication tropes, except when it comes to Regency, because that is the only appropriate moment where it works, because the social standards demanded that they could not speak openly. So I think that is very appropriate in the book. It still didn't capture my heart as Romantic Mr. Bridgerton. I think that what happens here is that you see in the books a lot of small details that you don't get to see in the series, because there's limited amount of time and a large cast. And for example, when it comes to Penelope, we all understand, because they have told us that her relationship with the Bridgertons is so strong. However, in the books, we can actually see it. And there's a part in this book, in The Viscount Who Loves Me, where Anthony saves Penelope from an embarrassing social situation. And that is actually what makes Kate kind of fall for him, because she can see that he is more than what he is, the front that he's putting on. And I thought that was such a lovely moment, and I don't understand why we didn't see it in season 2, because we know that that's what's coming for season 3, right? So that moment should have been there. And also when Anthony is kind of questioning Colin about his marriage to Penelope, we understand that it comes from a place of loving Penelope and wanting to defend Penelope and making sure that it's for the right reasons. But only the people who have read the book, or who have watched a lot of videos of people talking about the books can understand that. So anyways, I think I've talked way too much about this book. I gave it 3 stars. I thought it was okay. It's still not my favorite, but I thought it was fine. Anyways, the next book that I read is actually a duology. So I started with Six of Crows, which I loved. I mean, there's nothing else to say about this book. I really loved it. I've heard a lot of things about it. If you have seen, again, the Netflix series, you know that the Crows are a bunch of bandits, a team of bandits who are assassins, murderers, thieves, and all that good stuff. And they are together in order to accomplish a heist right now, for them to maybe perhaps change their ways, change their path. Some of them, others, this might be the path for them. But this is a heist book. They are trying to accomplish something, where they're gonna be rewarded, and we meet all of the crows, obviously, and we have their backstories. I listened to the audiobook as I was reading the book, and I really liked it because they have different narrators for each character, which I really like it when it's a full cast. When it's one person doing different voices, you can really take me out of it because you can tell that they're faking their voice. But when it's a cast, it's much better. Uh, like you did in the series, you fall in love with the characters. These are bad people who you are rooting for, who you understand, not necessarily excuse, but understand what they're going through, or kind of see their point. And yeah, I really liked it. As soon as this book was over, I had to read the next one. I don't have it physically, but I was able to get it on audiobook, so I was able to listen to Crooked Kingdom, and I really liked it too. I felt Crooked Kingdom was a little bit long. Certain parts of that particular heist, because it's another heist book, were dragged, I think, a little bit, but it also tied everything up. I believe someone said that there might be a third book coming out. The truth is, there could be a third book coming out, or they could just leave it. It's either way, I think it would be fine. There are things that we could see of them in this world. I think the premise would have to change. There would not have to be a heist, because this book ends in a way that we needed the second one for a heist and for a kind of tie with, and to kind of end the story. We need a second book. We don't necessarily need a third book, so if they do one, they would have to kind of start over or kind of pivot a little bit. So I don't know, but anyways, I love Six of Crows. I gave it 5 stars, and I really like Crooked Kingdom. I gave it 4 stars simply because I felt like it dragged a little bit in the middle, but that was fine. I still really loved it. Okay, and then the books that I actually finished for Summerween. So I'm gonna go through these really, really fast. So the first one is The Woman in Cabin 10. So at first glance, my mistake, I saw the rain drops, and I saw the window, and I thought it was a cabin. It's actually a cruise cabin, not an actual like woodland cabin. So the setting already kind of set it up to fail for me, I guess, because I didn't pay attention to it. So we are following this girl who is a travel writer, and she's invited to a cruise, a luxury cruise, with other reporters to, well, report on it and send feedback back to the magazine. The day before, or a couple of days before, she has a home invasion, which leaves her pretty traumatized, but she still decides to go on this trip. And on one of the nights of the trip, she hears noises on the cabin next door to her, and then she hears a splash, and then she sees blood on the window of the partition between the balconies of the cabin. When she calls security and asks what's going on, they say that there's nothing wrong, there's no blood, there's no nothing, like no one's in that cabin. So she doesn't understand if she's going crazy or if something really happened and they're hiding it. The problem with this book is, if this girl had any survival like instincts, she would have like just zipped it, continued the cruise, written her stories, and then go on home. The problem is she kept digging and digging and digging, and she wasn't. They kept trying to tell us that she was really scared because of the traumatic experience that she had. But if she would have been super scared, she wouldn't have been digging like she was trying to solve the murder, right? Like if you're super scared, you don't try to solve a murder, you try to run away from whatever is scaring you. So it didn't make any sense. She also kept on, again, digging and digging and digging in situations where everything was clarified, so there wasn't any doubt left. It was just her instinct. So like, why? There's gotta be like a clue or something that tells us that she might be right. and obviously, I mean, I'm gonna say spoilers over here, and obviously she is right, there is something going on, but there's nothing that she can go off that, like, knowing that she's gonna find that, like, it's all pure instinct, and oh my god, she's actually right. So it doesn't really make any sense. Yeah, I felt like it dragged a lot. I honestly fell asleep in a little part. I had the audiobook while I was reading, and then I came back and we're still in the same place. So like, that tells you a lot. So this wasn't my favorite. I know a lot of people like Ruth Ware. I really wanted to read her. I don't think this is the one that people love the most. I might give Ruth Ware another chance. But I really didn't like this book. I felt like it was it I was gonna say I felt like it was for funsies, like a murder mystery for funsies, but I actually didn't have fun with it, so I gave it 2 stars. Okay, the next book, which is the first one that I actually read for Summerween, is Mexican Gothic. I already talked about this. This is about a woman who is trying to save her cousin from a marriage and a house and a family from foreigners, English, who came and lived in Mexico and built like and built an hacienda in a town, and they kind of took control of the town and took control of the mines there, and even of the magic there, I say there, and not in a positive way. So if you like magical realism, if you like Gothic stories, this is the one for you. For those saying that Mexican Gothic wasn't Mexican enough, I say read a book on history of Mexico. I say don't want just cliches from Mexico. I think this is captures Mexican 19 in the 1950s with all that magical realism elements perfectly. So I really like that. This one is from Silvia Moreno Garcia. This is my third Silvia Moreno Garcia, and I have liked every single one of her books. So I think she's becoming one of my favorite authors. I gave this one 5 stars. Okay, the next book is Payback's the Witch. This was actually supposed to be my first book for Summerween, but I was so bored that I put it down. Then I picked it up again, and yeah. So this is the story of a girl named Emily who has magic, who doesn't really use her magic. She moved away from the town. She comes back into town. She runs into Talia, who is the ex of her ex-boyfriend, and Talia asks her to like join forces so they can take revenge on this guy. The thing is this a like Hallmark witchy sapphic romance, or is this like a Harry Potter Goblet of Fire tournament thing? It doesn't know, because the second plot of this story is that there are 5 main families in this town who kind of rule over the town. 4 families fight for the power every 50 years or so, and there's one dominant family who's always winning and always gets the power, and they decide what goes on in the town. Emily comes back because she's gonna be like a referee in this games, because, or in this competition, because her family doesn't have quite that much magic, so they are kind of like the watchers, the seers, the referees type of family. So she comes back for that, and I think Talia and the ex are competing, and then 2 other people are competing. So is this a competition book? Is this a Hunger Games Goblet of Fire book, or is this a cozy Hallmark romance enemies to lovers book? It doesn't know, and I didn't know either. Now I really like the whole family thing. I really like that part. I think they should have focused on that. And I know this is a series, so this book is pretty much the setting up of the world. So I think we have like the emotional relationships, and we have the family dynamics, and then we have the magic system and all that. So I think this is setting up everything, and because it's setting up everything, it does feel like that. It feels like a little bit of everything, and not quite a story that needed to be like told and fulfilled and changed. It's like, I feel like this is the prequel. So did I hate it? No. Did I love it? No. It was like fine. Again, I was kind of not paying attention at certain parts, and I really didn't miss anything. I feel like there's too much setup in this book and not enough actual story. And there is the story, the plot line of the games, but again, because we're so focused on the other parts, we kind of lose that. And then we have the third act breakup again, which it's kind of annoying to me. So I mean, this is more, could be more of a me problem than a book problem. So if you have read the series, let me know. I think there's like 5 books. I would continue it if I have nothing else to read and I just wanted something like a cozy fantasy. I might pick it up because I still think it's kind of cozy fantasy, but I think I'm making that mistake. I don't think it's cozy fantasy. I think it's set up to be that, or sometimes the synopsis really does you dirty because that's how it's set up in the synopsis, but I don't think it's that. So it's more of a, I think it's gonna be more of a high stake fantasy, and yeah, I think it's more than meets the eye, and I need to go in it with that mindset. So this is Payback's Witch by Lana Harper, and I gave it 3 stars. Okay, the next one is Killers of a Certain Age by Deanna Raybourn, and I really like this one. So let me just say that I really like mystery thrillers and espionage and all that kind of stuff. And this is a story about a group of older ladies who have decided to retire from their espionage work, hire assassin work. So the agency sends them on a cruise for their retirement because they were kind of members of a group. And then once they're in that cruise, they realize that there's a hit on someone on the cruise, and it's them. And they need to figure out who has put a hit on them, why, now that they're retiring, what happened, and what's the point what's the point at this point of doing that. And so they have to go hide out and come up with all their tricks and all that in order to find out who it was. Now, I know that there was a boom on like older senior citizen murders and investigators and assassins and secret agents and all that. And a lot of people are tired of them. And I know this is kind of one of the wave of books that came out with that. I haven't read any of those, so I really did like this one. I like that it was ladies. I like that it was like, again, like espionage. I really like Alias. Is one of my favorite shows, so I picture like Alias, like Sydney Bristol at her old age in this group. So I really like this one. I gave it 4 stars. I feel like it dragged a little bit between middle and end, but I still liked all the twists. I think it was still pretty smart, and I really liked it and enjoyed it and had a lot of fun and laughed a lot. So yeah, Killers of a Certain Age. Okay, the next book that I read, I wasn't that lucky. This is The Last Melody by Joanna Davidson Politano. This is a Regency era mystery where this girl who is a famous pianist and singer, I don't remember if she's a singer, but a famous pianist, she is left orphaned. She doesn't have a mother. Her father has just passed away. She is older now and she makes her own living, so that is not a problem. However, that dad leaves her with a ward who is in a mental institution. So when she goes undercover. So first mistake, she goes undercover to the mental institution to try and find this ward. And because she entered under a different name and said she was a different person, she is institutionalized because they think she's crazy. And she tries to tell them who she is, and she is a famous pianist and no one believes her. So the plot like dies right there, because if she's a famous pianist from the Regency era, they can ask anyone. Like, her manager comes and see her, her friend from childhood comes and see her, and no one can get her out. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So the whole story, we're in this mental institution with her, trying to get to know the other girls, trying to find some humanity in them, trying to find that mystery woman who she hasn't found, who is supposed to be her ward, and then trying to figure out how to get out of there. Now, I know this is probably like a Girl Interrupted, like women are hysterical, let's put them in mental institutions kind of thing, which we know that's real. However, it doesn't make any sense when there are people who know you who are trying to get you out. And then every time someone visited, it was like, oh, we're trying to get you out, don't worry, we'll get you out soon. And she's like, okay, fine, like, you're stuck in a mental institution, what do you mean okay, fine? Like, there's no point. So it felt incredibly slow, like nothing happened, like this is all vibes and nothing actually happens. And spoiler, at the end when she gets out, it's like uneventful, and she's just out and she's like, oh yeah, like it's so sad that women are in there. Yes, it's sad that I had to read this. So could have been that there was something in there that I missed, sure. And like there can always be like reader mistakes, that you missed something and the plot just kind of went out the window because you weren't paying attention. It could be that it just wasn't for me. I like all vibes, no plot books like Women Eating. I feel like this one was nothing like that. It was trying to give me vibes, but it didn't really give me any vibes. So yeah, it wasn't my favorite. I love the cover though. I love the fact that we have like these spread edges with the piano notes. I love that we have like a secret letter. So this is gonna go on my Regency collection. Maybe someday in the future I'll give it another go, see if it was me or if it's the book. But for now, I gave it 2 star. It really wasn't my favorite. And then the last book that I have to talk to you guys about is The Only Survivors by Megan Miranda. This is the story of a group of teenagers on their senior year of school, high school, who get into a car accident, and most of their friends and the teachers perish, and there's only a few survivors. And every year they meet in a cabin by the beach to kind of commemorate and think about what happened and sort of remember their friendship and their friends. However, as the story progresses and we see the point of view of different members of the group, we realize that not everything is as it seems. Not every story that they told was 100% true. And once two of the survivors unalive themselves, then the main character is left wondering, is there something else? Did someone cause the accident? Is there something else here that I'm missing? And am I gonna be the next one to perish? So this is an interesting murder mystery. I did like it. I did feel like it dragged a little bit. There's always one point where you can go a little bit faster, and there's always one point with murder mysteries where you can cut like 20 or 50 pages off. But anywho, I liked it. I honestly didn't like the twist that much. I think I gave this one 3 stars because I didn't like the twist that much, but I was entertained. I was interested in what was going on with the characters. I did like the fact that we have different POVs of each and every single one of them, because not just one person has the full story. You need all of the stories to see what actually happens. So yeah, again, the twist wasn't my fave, but you know, that always happens at the end, and the twists aren't everybody's favorite. So I think it was entertaining. I think it was fun. I would give Megan Miranda another try, and this was The Only Survivors. Okay, and those are all the books that I read in July. So hopefully I will have, with Scarlett, I will have 10 books to add to my read list for 2024. So anyway, that is it. Thank you so much for joining me. Please let me know, what did you read in July? Are you reading summer books? Did you participate in Summerween? Let us know down in the comments. What are you reading? What are you liking? And if you made it to the end, leave a ghost emoji just to make sure that you are one of the ones that stuck around. Also remember that on the description I have all my social media and all the ways that you can support this channel. I really do appreciate you visiting all of those social media, checking them out. Remember that on Instagram I put all of my reviews, and some of them don't make it to the videos, so hopefully you can go ahead and check those out. And if you'd like to support the channel even further, please like this video, comment, it helps out a lot, and subscribe and hit that bell so you can get notified every time I upload a video. I upload in Spanish every Wednesday and in English every Friday. Thank you so much for joining me. Remember to keep reading and keep blooming, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.